Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Kathy Hester, and welcome to my kitchen. And today we're doing something super cool. So you may have caught a little teaser live earlier today where I made some chili powder that we're going to be using in our chili Pepita Idaho potato burger today. They're super easy to make. They're really my new favorite burger. I just made it a couple of weeks ago, and we've been eating a lot of them. So I'm going to talk you through all that. You're also going to get the recipe, which has not been available before now. So I see some people have already said things like the famous Idaho potato people, and it is the Idaho Potato Commission that's sponsoring this lovely recipe in live, and there may be some swag giveaways that we'll talk about in just a minute. But I'm going to be checking over here and seeing how everything's going. If you guys want to say hi, tell me what your favorite potato dish is and check in. And you can still tell me what the weather's like where you are. It's hot again here. So Idaho potatoes and I have a really long relationship. So I actually went on the potato tour and went to different farms and got to meet a lot of the farmers, and it was super cool. So I've been doing recipes for them for several years now. And when they decided we would do some giveaways of some swag, there is one thing here that is one of my favorite things in the world, which is the little famous, let me do it overhead so you guys can see it a little bit better. And there's Spuddy. That's Spuddy Buddy waving at you. That's the Idaho potato mascot. Hi, Fran from Oregon, and Sherry from earlier, and Karen. It's good to see all you guys coming back in. So it's just a little potato peeler, but it really is one of my favorite tools in the kitchen. And we've talked about this guy in other lives. You see that? And sometimes on some other, I don't know if I have one. Yeah, nope, that one. Here we go. And sometimes you'll see something like this instead. And what that's for, because this is like my mission in life, is to make sure you don't throw out good usable potatoes. You know, you're not supposed to eat the eyes or the little tiny growths that might come in. Well, this is for going in the potato and getting it out. Same thing for this. But I love these guys. So some of the other cool swag. So what I would like you guys to do, you can say anything. You can say hello, say where you're from, say what your favorite potato dish is, because later on I'm going to go through and I think I'm going to do 2 different sets of stuff giveaways. So then I will contact you through Facebook. I'll say, hey, email me your mailing address, and then you will get a magic prize of Idaho goodies. So these little twins are Spuddy Buddies, and they're super cute. And I'm used to seeing Spuddy Buddies at all the conferences I go to, so they're pretty fun. And there's some new stuff in here. Notice, one for you, one for me. This is the only swag I'm taking. But there's an extra apron, too, that says Bake My Day, which is sassy. And there's a nice potato cleaner brush. And this cute towel, I have one of these myself, and I like it a lot. Oh, here, let's do this part so you can see it a little bit more. And it's just very cute, all the different ways you can make Idaho potatoes. And this guy is super cool. So let me show you the picture under the top. Okay, can you guys see? There you go. So what these are for is for actually cooking the whole potatoes, and then this is kind of like a scrubby for your potato, and it takes the potato skin off, which is cool. And there are potato socks, which I was really tempted, since I have shorts on today, I was tempted to snag some for myself, but I have saved them just for you. So that's some of the swag that you are going to get. So make sure. And we'll keep Spuddy Buddy up here for company. I used to have a giant Spuddy Buddy that I gave to a friend's kids. And so these potato burgers are super easy to make. And I'm going to check the comments in a minute, then we're going to get started. And just so you know, too, if you're looking for Idaho potatoes in particular, you'll notice that this seal is always on there. Let's give you a good overhead view of that, too. And that's one good way to find out. So I am going to, let's see what we got here. We got lots of comments. Yay, everybody wants Spuddy Buddy goodness. That's what I like to hear. So we'll sit these guys here. And we'll leave one Spuddy Buddy. I don't want to get all your other stuff dirty. Then I'll have to wash it before I send it to you. Okay, so wow, lots of things. Cindy Shimes loves potatoes. Cindy Neighbor says hello. And Kathy, spelled differently than me, just had diced potatoes with mushroom gravy and salad. That sounds amazing. And completely vegan. All the food we're going to make today, our veggie burgers are vegan. All the food I always make is completely plant-based vegan. So many people. Fran has potatoes growing from her potatoes. That was awesome. That grew the little things from in the spring. And Joanne loves potatoes, and she loves Idaho potatoes particularly because of their fluffiness. And oh, so many great things. Oh, and Amanda's here from Texas. Everybody say happy birthday to her. It was her birthday last week. So many good things. That is awesome. Yeah, potatoes are awesome for many reasons. They're also good for you, they're healthy, and they taste good. I mean, how often do we get all the things all at once? So I'm going to start with these potato burgers. And so this is about 4 cups of chopped potatoes. And actually, either Linda, the person behind the potato, we'll put the link in there, or I can put the link in a little bit later. So you will have the full recipe available to you. I'm going to talk you through it. So I just boiled these until they were pierced easily with a fork. And I had a surprise thing that I put in them. I put some chilies. And we'll talk about these chilies while the burgers are baking. So I'll give you a minute for that. Let's move these guys. So these beans, it's just 1 can. Get this a little bit more in focus for you guys. And I have like the best masher ever. This is such a heavy duty masher. So I drain these beans very well. That's going to be a big key to these burgers, is draining the potatoes and draining the beans well, because they both kind of have some moisture to them, right? And you don't have to, you know, squish every single bean if you don't want to. But this is part of the paste that's going to be like holding everything together, right? So we want it to be a little bit smushed. Okay. And now I'm going to put the potatoes in there. And I'll move this out of the way. And then we're going to mash those too. Okay, so this is just really getting us the base of our burger. And what I love about the Idaho russet potato is how fluffy it is. And you can tell that in here. And that also makes for a nice dry potato. But Idaho has more than just russet potatoes. So there's all the potatoes, fingerlings, all of those. You can still get those in Idaho. So you could use any kind of potato. If you use a waxier potato, like a yellow fin or something like that, you're just going to have to make sure to get enough moisture out. So I'm just mixing. I think I need to mix this around with a wooden spoon instead of this floppy spatula. Let me see if I have any questions so far. And Idaho Potatoes has put the recipe up. It is there with a photo you've seen teased all week. And then also, while these are baking, I'm going to show you some other things you can do with these burgers. We're going to talk about that too. Because you know I'm not into a one-trick thing that we make from scratch. And I know you may already be thinking, well, we're making burgers. Can I freeze those? Because that's the first question you asked me. Yes, you can freeze them. So what I would do is cook them, cool them, and often I'll put a piece of parchment paper I'll cut and put in a resealable container or resealable bag. And what that does is, if your freezer ever kind of thaws a little bit and freezes back up, sometimes the burgers will freeze themselves together. And what this does is this just lets them come apart easy. So that's a win-win. Okay, just mushing up a little bit more. And it looks like a nice dry mixture. And remember, we can always add water in and liquid in, but we can't take it out. So that's something to just kind of keep in mind. And I'll let you see some more of this like serious masher at work. I love this masher. It's great for veggie burgers or things that you're going to make that are going to be drier. You know, like obviously this is not the mixture for mashed potatoes. Exactly, right? There's that potato I was looking for. Alrighty. So let me set this guy aside. Okay, awesome. Now, one of the things that we're doing is we're putting pepitas or pumpkin seeds. So these have just been toasted, and then I put them in my favorite mini pulse thing. And we're going to use this again. So I didn't clean it. So I just did these just a minute ago. So know that I used it, and there's pumpkin seed crumbs there. It's perfectly fine. It's all going to go in here anyhow. So don't waste your time with extra washing. Oh, and I think a ricer would do great for the potatoes, Jackie. That's a great question. I totally think you could do a ricer because this, in a way, to me, this acts almost more like a potato ricer than it does a potato masher because there's so much more breaking up that's happening than if you just have those little, you know, zigzags. I think this works better. Ooh, stuffed potatoes are the best, you guys. So take a stuffed potato, some plain vegan yogurt, mix in some nutritional yeast, onion powder, garlic powder, salt, and pepper. If you want to, you could also do either some minced parsley, minced kale, minced basil, any of that stuff. Mix that all in together. First, you have a cooked baked potato. Then you've hollowed it out. Then you've added that stuff that I named. I kind of did that out of order, didn't I? And then put it back in and put it in the oven until it gets toasty brown. Oh my God, it's the best thing ever. So we're going to take these reconstituted chili peppers. And again, these are guajillo, and you're going to get the recipe, but it looks like guacamole is what it starts out with. Hilo, H-I-L-L-O. Guajillo peppers. You may be going, oh my God, that's a lot of red stuff. It's going to be really spicy. It's not. They're really mild peppers. And we'll talk more about ancho chilies and guajillo chilies while these are in the oven. So I'm going to put these in here. This could be any small food processor, or if you have a small jar blender, I would not put it in your big Vitamix. And we're going to put about a half a cup of water. Really, hopefully just enough to get it to blend up. We don't need this to puree perfectly. These will mash up some too, but this just makes it easier. And this is one of the best flavor elements. So if you guys don't know what this is an immersion blender that has like a little mini food processor addition to it. Those of you that have been taking all my classes, you know I'm in love with this thing. And see how easy? And I'm going to show you because it's not all completely broken up. Let me get this off. And I am going to have the red hands again. I just cleaned up from this from earlier. But what better to have than beautiful chili smells? And see how beautiful that is, you guys? The flavor is even better than what it looks like. Let me let's get a teeny tiny little spatula for this. Okay. And this is kind of both our liquid ingredient, and the liquid I have here is the cooking liquid from the potatoes and the chilies. So I had just the chilies on top to reconstitute. And you see there's still some pieces of chili, right? And that's okay. It's going to be fine. This is about deliciousness and not about perfection, which is a myth, and let's not make us unhappy. Okay. And so as we mix it in, see, and it's going to make this beautiful thing. You can see there's a few pieces of the pepper, and that's just, think of it as decoration. So that's kind of like the vase on your fireplace of these burgers. How's that? How's that for a $10 description? And Amanda's saying, can you grill the burgers? I would like to take them camping. I would grill the burgers after you've cooked them the first time. So what we're doing today is what I consider the first cook. You can eat them after this, right? And so actually I can show you some from, these are my leftover burgers. So see how they're pretty hefty. They're not going to fall apart. Whereas when they're new, you want to let them cool down and things before you transport them. Then you totally can put these on a grill or cook them over the campfire, anything like that. But if you want me to cook them over a campfire, you have to teach me how to make a fire. My friend Keita Roberts is like a campfire cooking queen. And she was saying all these terms like kindling and tinder and I don't know. Whoosh! I'm like, I just make stuff in the kitchen. That's why you hang out with me in my kitchen. So I'm going to mix these up really good. And then we have a little bit extra water. So it's always a good idea if you're going to use cooking water from potatoes, which I highly recommend you do because there's lots of good starches and thickeners in there that are just natural. They're just there. And so I always drain them or strain them, put them in the strainer to get the water out, and I try to save as much as possible. If you cook anything with chilies, it's also good to use that chili water to make tortillas with. And it's really flavorful. And so reconstituting chilies, instead of thinking of it as a chore, I'll let you see some of this now. So I'm mixing it in. See how pretty it's getting? And there's still some few chunks of those peppers, but they just look beautiful. Okay. And we're going to add in some of the spices. We've got lots of spices and things to do. And I'm seeing if there's anything else. You'll do the fire, Cindy? That sounds awesome. And cheeseburger paradise soup. Ooh, if you have a link to the recipe, I'll veganize it on the blog for anybody else, unless you want to share your veganized version, which you feel free to do that here. Share what you've done different. Okay, let me get our printer broke today, so I am looking on my little iPad over here for the recipe to make sure I give you all the things. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to add, and here's something with recipes, a tip. So if it says 3/4 cup pepitas, toasted and chopped, then you measure it that way. You measure the pepitas first. Because I get that question a lot as a cookbook author. So we're adding these in, and this is going to be, again, some nice solid stuff. And I may have drained stuff better than last time. This is a very thick mixture. So we don't want it to be like mashed potatoes because then we're going to make patties and they're going to squish to everything. We want this to be stiff. So I'm going to get some of these in, and then we have a slew of spices. So when you see the recipe, just look at it, take a deep breath, and realize almost everything is a spice, okay? It's not nearly as bad as you think it is. I promise. Oh, I wish I could ship you all a burger too. They're so good. And when I took the picture for this, so when you're a food blogger, a lot of times I probably spent an hour setting up and shooting it and doing all that stuff, and I still ate the one that was there, and it was good. And then I ate another one another day straight out of the fridge, and it was delicious. And that says a lot about the flavor in the burger. which we are just getting ready to put in. So we're going to do a half a cup of nutritional yeast. So nutritional yeast is, if you're new to it, it is not the same thing as brewer's yeast. And if you ask the people at Whole Foods, they'll help you find it. But we can even get it in Harris Teeter and Food Lion. So we can get it at almost any grocery store right now. We're going to add in a 1/4 cup of ground flaxseed. If you don't have flaxseed, you could use something like a brown rice flour or a whole wheat flour. Really just about any flour. What we're doing is we're using this again to take out some of the extra moisture. Since I drain these so good, we may end up putting some moisture back in too, and that's okay. So what did I say? A 1/4 cup? Just going to use this measure. This is 2 tablespoons. So it's a weird measuring device that came with my nutritional yeast. But in case you were wondering why I only put 2 scoops of something in there. All right. Okay, so Sherry put in the link to that soup. Oh, and Amanda, Cheryl, who's my wife, is saying, hey, camping, let's do it. And that sounds awesome. Okay, that's perfect. We will talk about being salt-free too. There is salt in the burger. We haven't gotten there yet, and I do have salt-free option for you. So we're going to do 2 tablespoons or 2 teaspoons of Mexican oregano. And I wanted to just briefly talk. Can you guys see there's Mexican oregano, regular oregano, and marjoram? Not in that order. Mexican oregano is more lemony. So what I suggest, if you don't have Mexican oregano or can't access it, it's fine. Use marjoram. Both of them have a slightly more floral scent and taste than the regular Greek oregano that we're used to, that tastes, to me, like school pizza. Anybody remember that was like the only herb that we got in school was the oregano on the pizza. So we've got some of that in there. I have made some homemade ancho chili powder, which I made with you this morning, if you're watching again. So we're going to put 2 teaspoons of that. You can get it other places. You can get it at Amazon already ground up, but I spent less than $3 and I have 3 of these. So I think it's worth the while. And the smell, so it's the chilies in here. The potatoes give it the bulk and its perfect texture, and the chilies really give it a lot of umami, a lot of deeper flavor, and like layers of flavor. So that's what's missing sometimes from some veggie burgers, is that you don't really get to get in there and get all that yummy flavor. So we're going to do 2 teaspoons of salt, or you could use your favorite salt substitute if you don't have one. What I suggest to do, so I probably would use, to make up these 2 teaspoons, I would use 3/4 teaspoon of ground garlic, a 1/4 teaspoon of ground celery seed. I would put in a little bit of extra nutritional yeast, and maybe a little bit of onion powder, maybe like a 1/4 to a 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder. And the reason I'm saying those the way I am is celery already has a little bit of a nice salty flavor. Garlic, granulated garlic and powdered garlic touches on your tongue similarly to the way salt does. So it gives you that kind of salt bite that you're looking for. So I think that's a big reason. And we're going to use some cumin because this is, after all, kind of a Mexican-y, New Mexico kind of burger. We're going to do 1½ teaspoons of that. And that also gives it a really nice dark flavor, and it's in most of our chili for the stew powders. So if you're wondering what's the difference between ancho chili powder and chili powder, like CHILI instead of IE, and I probably spelled that wrong if I did. So I'll take a deep, happy spelling breath together. It's been one of those mornings I've been like, woo! And it seems like I have caffeine. No caffeine in this body. Thank you very much. And Grant saying, does the flaxseed work with the starch from the potatoes to bind things together? It absolutely does. Plus, in general, if you're like me and you didn't wait quite long enough for those potatoes or those beans to completely drain, that will help soak any of that extra up and should ensure success. That's why I said, since I was prepping this way far ahead than I normally would, that I might end up adding a little bit more liquids after we finish our spices. See if yeah, oh, Kathy, that's great too. You could use like some seaweed flakes of different kinds in place of salt. I know some people who do no salt may also not be doing seaweed because there is some natural salt in there. I don't know. You could use coconut aminos, has a little bit of salt. So if you're no salt, which a lot of people, especially the people who follow Chef AJ and do sofas free, are no salt. So hopefully that helps. But there's so many different things. If you already know something that really gives that salty, yummy flavor to it, for you, go ahead and try it. I want you to think of my recipes as a base for your experiments, okay? And garlic powder, because garlic powder, right? Why am I not using fresh garlic? 2 reasons. One, this is supposed to be a I make it really fast burger, so I don't want to be fooling with it. The other thing is I'm trying, again, not to add any extra liquid that I might not be counting for, because that's the difference between like a mushy burger and a not mushy burger. We're going to do 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder for a very similar reason. And if you wanted to, if you had onion flakes, you could do something like that, and that probably would pull some water out. I don't have any right now. We're going to do 1/2 teaspoon of smoked paprika, because smoked paprika. No, because again, it's a different kind of chili, but I like adding a little bit of that smoky flavor to this. Actually, those of you who know me know I like adding a little bit of smoky flavor to everything. We have to be real about this, don't we? So see how it was mostly spices and they were all easy to do. Let's see if and if you want to, you can change this to not. This is a chipotle powder that I've had a long time that is super spicy. So I'm just going to add a little bit in there. Because Cheryl doesn't like spicy foods, I'm probably only going to add a 1/4 teaspoon. You can go crazy with it. I want you to add as much as you want to. So now I'm going to try and get all this stuff together. And I may forego and just get my hands in there. Hey Marilyn, I'm glad to see you here as always. And I may not be able to see some of the questions for a minute because I'm going to have really messy hands. Here I have a finger. I'll try and keep this finger clean. So once you get into like this, if you ever ate meat or your parents made burgers, you remember, or meatloaf, this is a lot what that's like, right? So I don't want it to be so wet it won't patty up, and it's going to stick some to my hands, but I don't want it to just stick like a paste. So it's okay that there's some pieces of potato, we just don't want those too big. And actually, I'm not going to be adding any water. This is a good one. So let's say it was too dry and it was just crumbling and it wouldn't stick together at all. I would mix in a little bit, probably a tablespoon at a time of the cooking water. If it was so mushy that it wasn't going to do well, I would then come back and probably add a little more flaxseed, typically a tablespoon at a time. The reason for that kind of caution is that, again, then you could just overshoot it and be right back where you were. And see, I just think these are so pretty. I do have a couple of big pieces of potato in there still. Okay. I'll show you how we can do this. Okay. So I'm going to have some serious potato hands going on. Ah! But I may get some of this off. what we're going to do is we're going to put them in the Breville oven air back there. So I'm probably going to put it, just because we are doing a live, I'm going to put it on air fry. Could you air fry these normally? Absolutely. You could also, the reason I tend to do oven over an air fryer for something like this is I want to go ahead and cook them all, right? So we're going to do a couple of these. I'm going to wash this off really quick, even though it's going to be back like this in a minute. But if you have some questions about the mixture or more questions about the mixture, now is a perfect time to put those in there, and I'll be able to go and check them and everything. Karen says, will the chipotle overwhelm the other chilies? No, no. We're putting in 2 teaspoons of one chili. We're using 3 whole of another. And so yeah, I say no. And if you don't like any spice, you can leave it out. So if I was doing these in the oven, this is just an air fryer tray for the Breville that I was using to dehydrate the chilies earlier. So what I'm going to do is just have a piece of parchment paper here. If you were air frying them, you could decide to or not. I still would put parchment paper down for the first half of the cooking cycle. Then if you want, you can lift them and peel them off. You'll have much less of a mess. That goes with anything breaded that you put in there too. This is about a half scoop cookie sheet, and this is cookie sheet, not cookie scoop. Oh my goodness. So I'm going to take this, and then we're just going to go ahead and put them here for a minute. I'll let you kind of see these. And I'm trying to remember, I think they made, yeah, I made 16 burgers out of these, so it makes a good amount. And honestly, when you're not talking through every tiny step, it doesn't take that much effort. You could, as a hint, even go ahead and make yourself flavor packets, so you can make all the dry ingredients and mix them together and put them in a jar for your dry potato patty ingredients. Ha! I'm queen of trying to take shortcuts. You guys know that. Okay, and I saw another question come in. Yes, Cheryl Bagley, maybe? Sorry, trying to say your name right. Okay, then what you can do is you can either take a spatula and press it down a little bit. You can use your hands. Let's just use our spatula. Well, it's going to stick in a minute. What's good to do, and I'll do this with the chipotle, where the chipotles, not the chipotles, where the guajilos were, and get a little bit of water. And so that's something that can kind of help. Like, see, that helps mold it back together. Or, and I like to do this, I cup my hand to get a good burger roundness going on. So you could just take it in your hand. And see how even once they've kind of gotten mixed up really well, now they're not so sticky. That's another clue that they are dry enough. And I kind of like the way they look burgery. You know, they kind of have the chilies give it kind of that reddish color, and the beans. And you've got the pepitas in there for a little bit of crunch and flavor. And if you aren't doing any seeds or nuts, you could totally leave those out and maybe just add some additional flaxseed instead. Yeah, Marilyn, are you referring to when I called this a half sheet? This is a half cup cookie scoop. So I think that's what you caught me on. Ooh. See, that one just looks a little sad. But see, it looks unsad so quickly and easily. And if it looks like that and you're like, oh, look on the other side, it's like a whole new world. I feel like there needs to be a Broadway song for that other side of the burger. Can you guys tell I've been up since like 6 today? Took a walk. I have made arepas that you guys are going to see in a little bit because I'm going to use those for my buns. Because why not? And probably later this week or next week, I'm going to do a live and show you what I've learned about arepas because they are amazing, delicious things. Yeah, I wish you had some smell-o-vision because, oh, it's so good. And they do. Here, I smell it for you. It smells like happiness is what it does. It's like potatoes and flavors and cookouts on your favorite holiday. Okay, so I don't have cookouts on my favorite holiday, but maybe you do. There's not a lot of Halloween cookouts. Okay, so I'm going to sit these in here, and then we're just going to do these real quick too. And the reason I like using a scoop is for a couple of different reasons. Scoop, right? One of those reasons really is that it gives you an even amount, so that every burger is pretty much close to the same. And I find if I use a measuring cup instead of one of these giant cookie scoops or muffin scoops or whatever you want to call it, I end up cheating a little bit. Either the stuff starts getting stuck in there, and see how that one was kind of stuck? Now I have a way to get that out. And it's just faster. I don't have to think about it. I'm just putting this stuff down here, and this is how much it is, right? And it's one less thing for me to deal with while I'm cooking. This one may come out with a little more than that. I think we might come out with 18, 17, something like that. But I was going to, I'll show you something on this stuff too, on these leftovers. So we may have to up that. I don't know if I just made more generous scoops last time. Typically, those of you who follow my recipes know I'm like about this many burgers. And we'll look at something else we'll do with this while the burgers are cooking. And let's see. The texture after cooking, this is straight from the fridge. These are leftovers. Oh, I'm showing you in my head that it's an overhead view. You guys see? So it's pretty nice texture. It's not smushy. When they are first out, they can be a little bit smushier though. Okay, so know that. But once they get cooked, it's definitely not a mushy or a potato patty texture. Not that that's a bad thing. It's just not what this is. So you don't feel like you're eating mashed potatoes with stuff in it. You feel like you're eating a veggie burger, like a real proper veggie burger. And Karen loves arepas. And yeah, I'm making them from scratch. And once my hands are done, and I'll have lots to talk about with the chilies. I actually have some arepa flour out that I was going to show you guys in case you want to get a hold of some. It's not very expensive, but it is different than the flour you use to make tortillas. So if you've not made them before, no, you're not using the regular masa that you might have if you do make your own tortillas. And see, again, while my hands are red, it's not as messy as it was when I was mixing up the other things, mixing up all the stuff together. And I just love the texture of this. And I want to play with some other things, and it's one of the things we're going to talk about. I was going to crumble up the old burgers, but now that we have extra burger mix, I think we're going to start from scratch and see if I could just make taco crumbles with just the mix. Should I be too lazy to make patties? And you guys know I get a little lazy sometimes. Oh, and arepas, I'll have more about the history of arepas when I do the whole arepa thing. So I will tell you more about this, but what it is it's something and you split it open and it gets filled with delicious, yummy fillings. I'm going to put this in, and we're going to start it. I'm going to put it on air fry, like I said. And let me put it on about, I like to check everything at 10 minutes in the air fryer. So I'm going to do that. And I'm going to wash my hands, and I'll be right back for more goodies. And ask questions, because I'll get back to those as soon as I can, when I can actually touch my computer screen again and everything. Okay. Yay! Hands are clean. So let's start with that arepa sort of situation. Let's also wipe some of the burgery mess off of my counter. You would not, I don't know how my counter survives as many times as it gets cleaned a day. Okay. So I'll show you overhead. This is the general arepa. It's pan is the one that's usually used. And it's actually kind of a pre-cooked cornmeal. And you can get it in white or yellow corn. And actually, I was going to do the big surprise with the arepas. So this is an arepa, and you put them on the griddle and you cook them on either side. Then you fill them, and you could fill them with like potatoes mixed with nutritional yeast and a little bit of salsa, because just potatoes and any kind of Latin American food is like a win. But you cut it with a knife, and they make these little pockets. So there's actually, so they're kind of softer on the inside than they are on the outside. So once you make them, and I make them using the same scoop with the same method, and then you put them in the skillet to seal off the tops, which it really does. It just means that it's not sticky or wet anymore. Then you bake them, and they poof up kind of like pita bread, and that's how you can cut them. So there's that. Okay, so let me rearrange a little bit here. Let's see if there's any other. Okay, and that's what Karen has. Okay, I just want to make sure I haven't missed anybody's questions too. Okay, and Marilyn says she likes to watch me live because God knows what I'll do. She said it in a much nicer way. So I'm going to get the skillet over here too, closer to me. But I want to show you these chilies too, because it's a really important part of what we've done. And so I'm being told in there that I'm still saying them wrong. I thought it was guajillo. Now someone's saying it's guajillo. And whatever I'm saying, and if it's wrong, I'm really sorry, because I love them. And I can I thought I left the big chili packs out. Nope. Anyhow, it's written down in the recipe though. And so when they're dried chilies, and they're very inexpensive. Now, it depends on where you go. Some things are more expensive, like let's say at Whole Foods or Amazon. If you're going to Amazon, check for some prices and things. I will try to come back to this video and put up a link to links to some ingredients that you might not normally find. But so they're kind of like squishy. They're really cute. Okay, and this is an ancho chili in comparison. There's so many different kinds of chilies. So I'm going to show you how I prepared this. You need to take the stem out, and sometimes it'll tear out like that did. And we talked about this earlier. Kitchen shears, they're the way to go. So what are the difference between kitchen shears and scissors? Somebody needs to tell me. If you watched this morning, I know you know. I'll give you a minute. And then I'm just going to cut down this. It's almost like fruit leathery kind of texture. And the guajillo peppers are thinner than the anchos. So then what we do is we come in here, and it's not a hot pepper. If you are super sensitive to peppers though, please wear gloves. I'm the person who inhales jalapeno powder. So I've done this at so many places and in so many, I'm like, we've made jalapeno powder. Now here's the thing you don't want to do. You don't want to take a big smell, and I smell it and I start coughing. So do the right thing, okay? Do the right thing by yourself. Oh, I lick them. Yeah, and Cheryl says, yeah, and Sherry says in South America they're served at every meal, toasted for breakfast. Oh my God, arepas are so good. And I made them the first time with my friend Sandra Gutierrez. And if you don't know her, she is an amazing wealth of Latin American food information and a lovely friend. And so I made arepas with her at her house, and I was like, And I had made pupusas, and you guys know that. So this is how the peppers were prepared that cooked on top of the potatoes. So I took it like this in half and put them on top. That's it. So let's talk a little bit too about other things you could do. I could just put these in some water and puree it, and I have a sauce. I could use that, drizzle it on tacos. I could put it over beans. There's so many things. These things are amazing. And if you do have a Hispanic market near you, I encourage you to go. Like now in the time of lockdown, we're not getting to go on big vacations and things. So if you feel comfortable and safe, try and go and look at maybe an Indian market or an Asian market and find some of these really neat ingredients that then you can bring home and have like a whole staycation, just really enjoying different kinds of food that's delicious. And also, as a bonus, many times those stores can be half the price or less of regular grocery stores and certainly Whole Foods. I can get 4 tomatillos at Whole Foods with what I could probably get 3 pounds of tomatillos at the Hispanic market. Let's see. Let's see. Arepas are still found all over South America and Central America and sometimes parts of Mexico, Joanne is telling us. Oh, and she said also they're in Key West. She lives in Florida. And, oh, good. And Cheryl just dropped a link to my friend Sandra's website. She is not vegan. She does not do only vegan food. However, I will tell you, she makes some mean vegan spread for me when we go over. And so she has a lot of her recipes can easily be veganized. So if you find one from her and you're too shy to ask her about that, come ask me. You know where to find me. And if you're not already following me or a part of the group, Vegan Recipes, Cooking with Kathy Hester on Facebook, make sure to ask to join today. If you say today, I was at the potato live, you won't have to answer all the other questions. That's a bonus just for you. And just by being here and commenting, you could have won something. Think about that. What a day. Okay, Brenda answered the kitchen shears. Kitchen shears stay in the kitchen and keep them clean enough to lick. Oh, that's what. Oh, you know what? Now I get it. Who else was saying something about lick? Cindy. I'm sorry, Cindy. I wasn't getting it all together. Kitchen shears are something you keep clean enough that you could lick at any given point in time, which means your husband, wife, partner, roommate does not know where they are and cannot open an Amazon package with them. Hide them if you need to, people, but kitchen shears are awesome. Now this is the ancho chili pepper is much tougher. Okay, right? Look at that. And see, it's almost, these remind me of a raisin. I don't know if it's just because I'm taking it literally with all these little, the color and what they look like, right? And most of these are going to shake away. And you can peel off other ones. See how this is almost like a tar. So if you don't get all of them out, that's okay too. It just means when we're going to whirl things up. But this is how I made the ancho chili powder. And again, you can go back and see that on Plant-Based Instant Pot. And then I just take these shears and I cut it. Then when I'm putting it on a dehydrator plate, I just cut them up smaller. Right? And my hand smells so good. It smells all chili-rific. Let me just check on these guys. So you are noticing probably that there's some steam coming out from this corner. I don't know if you can, yeah, you can see it. So don't be afraid. When you're using the Breville, that happens a lot when it has something that's moist that it's drying out. So it's not fire or anything. It's just literally steam coming out. Okay, those are about 5 minutes. They're looking good. And Cheryl says I have my own Amazon shears now. I only made that mistake once. Oh, I got them out of her hand before she opened anything. And yeah, it was not pleasant. But Cheryl used to also put the dog leash on the stove. So, you know, so let's talk about a few things. So leftover burgers and what we can do with leftover burgers. How many of these peppers are in the burger recipe? So I think I use three about 4-inch long guajillo peppers, and then you're going to seed them and stem them and all of that and cut them in half. You can get a pack if you have an Aldi or a Walmart. You can get dried guajillo peppers. Guajillo. I'm so sorry. Anyhow, the delicious, yummy peppers that I just showed you. Ancho peppers seem to be a little bit harder to find, and I have to go directly to a Hispanic market to find them. They're also cheaper. They're like $2.99 a pound, but they're not expensive. So I think I paid less than $3 for a big pack that I got at Walmart yesterday. So they should be pretty accessible to most people. And the ancho chili powder, let's say you don't have ancho chili powder, instead of using the ancho chili and the cumin, and depending on your chili for the stew blend, you could use that in place of it. Here's the caveat. If it has salt in it, then that's going to limit the amount you can put in. So if it has salt in it, don't put any salt in before you add it, A. B, then see if you need to add some more cumin or Mexican oregano or something like that, or if you feel like it's done. I think if you can just have the pureed peppers in, that would still be a wonderful, flavorful burger. I am crazy for the flavor of ancho chilies, just crazy for them. So, what you gonna do? But give me some ancho chilies. I hope that helps too. And Brenda says I'm pronouncing it fine. I've been getting a couple of people have been phonetically writing it out, which is great because I always want to do the best I can. I'm still just a little southern girl from North Carolina, so I do the best, but I have great love in my heart for chilies and the flavors and the food that's made with them is just like blowing your mind, blows my mind every time I make something new with them. Okay, and someone said the Aldi's that she used to go to stopped carrying the peppers. I know, isn't this apron cute? Little Mr. Spuddy's on there. He's got his little spatula, looking sassy. Maybe I should start wearing an apron, you guys? Maybe we should vote me into a whole new thing. Anybody else? Have I missed anything else? Okay. So what we're going to do, and I'm going to try it with this mixture. I wasn't going to, so let's see what happens. And those of you who are new to me because you wanted to get the potato recipe, and you're like, who is this crazy lady? I'm the crazy lady that will make up recipes during a vegan cooking class. That is me. Okay, so I've got some extra mixture. I think I probably have close to a cup of mixture there. So I'm using a little bit of my nemesis, the induction burner, because I don't usually cook on the induction burner, so sometimes we have a rocky relationship. So I'm going to try it on roast. I'm going to let this get a little bit warm. If you use oil, you could put some oil in here. I'm going to want these to get crispy. Remove this. There we go. All right, I think that's a better position. So I'm going to let this heat up a little bit. Then what I'm going to do is basically cook this into a crumble. Ooh, these burgers are cooking up good. All right, that was 10 minutes. Let me stop for a second before we get to this next place. And let's take a look at these. We're just going to, what you see from overhead. And these have been cooking about 10 minutes. Yeah, see, they're pretty soft still. So we're definitely going to need some more time. But I'm going to go ahead and flip the positions. Yeah, because the ones on top are cooking a little bit faster. And that gives it a little more chance to kind of be fair. We want to be fair as much as we can to our potatoes. So I'm just going to start and let it get going. It'll beep when it gets to preheated again. Okay. And let's go back to here. Oh, Harry Potter aprons, Joanne, you speak to me. Okay. So we probably could do this, and because this isn't a non-stick pan, it does pretty good. It is going to get some coating from this, and I'm okay with that. So I'm just kind of chopping it up. A lot of times, let me grab a real spatula instead of that pretend spatula I'm hanging out with. And this, if I'm doing veggie burgers, this is the same thing I do. So if I was wanting to do that with these leftover burgers, I would just chop them up the same way. This is totally experiment. But another thing I could do with this mix are those burgers too, because it's going to take a little while for this to get going, is that then I could put in some tomatoes, some extra beans, and things like that and make a chili. Or we can make a nacho topping or a taco salad topping, or we can make enchilada filling, or we could make a arepa filling perhaps with this. Maybe one of these will be the crumbles coming in. And Tammy says she's printed the recipe off and she's making these tomorrow night. Thanks. I know you said, but I forget, are guajilos spicy? They are not spicy. And let's see. I'm going to find this over here. No, I have the package. This is my secret chili stash. So some of the brands, do you see how there's a little thermometer there? It will tell you. I found a new to me chili, which is the chili, black chili pods. And on this brand, it doesn't have it. Oh, it does on the back. So let me show you this a little more up close. So see, and it'll say where it is. And so it's saying it's just a tiny bit above mild, but it's below medium. There we go. Lean in a little more. So oftentimes, you can find out right on the packages, especially if you're getting them at Aldi's, Walmart. So when you go into the Hispanic market, it's amazing. There's just bins of big chilies around, and it's awesome. And what I've done when I see a chili I don't know is I just find someone who just got some chilies, and if I can, whoever just got those, and I'm like, I know that guajilos are mild, and I know that arboil, and I know I'm saying that one wrong, is very hot. So I'm like, which one is it like? So it gives her an idea that I've cooked with chilies and that I'm not a complete crazy person running around in the store asking her. But I get good luck that way. Also, I find in the Indian market, if I stand still long enough, just like super excited about seeing all the spices, sometimes I'm just like, and I think I get a little starry-eyed. Some nice older Indian woman will come over and give me a recipe. It's like magic. So I love these stores. I find so much wonderfulness out of it. Yeah, and I'm sorry, it was Tawny, not Tammy. I apologize. Tawny, I would love to know what you think of it too, because it really is one of my new favorite burgers. So I think this mix is going to work fine, but I think what I would do is bake it. I'm going to go ahead and switch this out and do a different one so that I can show you with the other burgers too. This will work. Now I have to remember, I think this one works with the induction burner. We'll find out real fast. Yeah. Okay. So it's faster with these because we've already cooked some of the water out. And see how at this point I can crumble them up. They're almost a week old. And so this is going to cook up very fast. And so what you could do with leftover burgers is I could even crumble them up and put them in the freezer like this to use for ground. And we'll just watch this for a minute. This won't take that long. We're just kind of heating them up and crisping them up ever so slightly. Now I'm just checking on the burgers. And also, if you want to do these in a smaller air fryer, like a regular egg-shaped air fryer, I would do no more than 2 patties in a small one, 4 patties in a larger one, and that's going to probably cook it in about 10 minutes. These may take longer because I'm trying to cook them all like it's an oven. And what in the Breville and the different toaster ovens, what happens is it acts like a super convection oven. And since the bigger the area, kind of like your oven, you can use your convection oven to do a similar thing, but it takes less time each time it gets smaller. So that's one of the reasons why we never get rid of our little egg fryers, our egg-shaped air fryers either. And isn't this this is so much nicer than buying like TVP or spending a lot of money on some of the beefless grounds, because this has and these, for those burgers, there's 1 can or 1.5 cups black beans, 4 cups of cooked potatoes, 3 guajillo peppers, and some spices. So that's really cheap for 16 burgers. And if you've gotten any Beyond Burgers, they cost more than this whole thing would to make 2. You get 2 burgers with that, you get 16 to 18 burgers with this. And these are better for you. Your doctor will be happy that you're eating these. So, and potatoes, I mean, especially in our whole food plant-based world, potatoes are just like as central as salads. You know, it's like, have some great salads and all that, but love your potatoes. You could do this, and let's potato out for a minute. You ready? Okay, so baked potato, some of these crumbles on it, and the potato cheese. So I don't know if Linda wants to go ahead and put up the link to all my recipes on Idaho potato. I've got a potato cheese recipe on there. I've got the potato oat sausage that I made last year. So potatoes are such an inexpensive, nutritious ingredient. It's just, you know, it's a no-brainer to use them. And especially with everything going on, we're wanting to eat healthier, we're wanting to make sure we're taking care of ourselves, and we're wanting to make sure we don't really mess up our food budget any more than we have perhaps so far this year. You know, I know we had a couple of months of maybe not eating all of the best choices, but potatoes are always a good choice, right? It's just about putting healthy things on them, but they're healthy, no oil, vegan cheeses, right? You can make a cheese with potato, or just add some nutritional yeast and some spices in to make a nice cheesy potato, like a mashed cheesy potato. And you could use oat milk for your milk there, and that's very inexpensive to make as well. And for the amount of these, I think, what did I crumble up? 3 or 4 burgers, I think. So what? It costs $5 to get this much crumbles in the store. That's that's such a tiny percentage of this recipe. I don't even know how much it costs. It's almost free at this point. I call it pretty much free, especially if these are leftover burgers. And you could just go ahead and dry some of this out just like this. And so that's what I consider this saute. We're just drying it out a little bit more because let's say if we decided we were going to make a cheeseburger or taco soup with it, what's going to happen then is everything's going to reconstitute more. So these will, in a lake of stew, reconstitute. So it's better to serve them either on top, crumbled up, or to just maybe put them on the side and let the user put them, or the user, your guest, not a user, unless they're using you for your fine potato burger skills like they might be doing for me. I have a feeling I'm going to get some self-invites over for potato burgers this week. But I've got leftovers and I've got 16 more over there. I got your burgers. So come on, I'll cook them up for you. Yeah, potatoes are so good. And oh yeah, it would make a good sloppy joe. What I would do is just make sure that you know it's not going to be crispies in there, but it would be a delicious sloppy joe. So actually what I probably would do is put in a can of either diced tomatoes or diced tomatoes with chilies first. Cook them around to cook out some of that liquid. Actually, okay, let's step back again. First I would saute some onion and garlic, then I would put in the tomatoes, then cook the water out, then add this. And this may be seasoned enough as is. If not, you could add a little bit of any of the things from the recipe. I would add in maybe some more Mexican oregano, maybe, I don't know. I don't think it would need any extra salt or pepper or anything like that, but it could. But it just turns out so good. Oh, good. Yeah, I've got tons of potatoes. So Jackie said thanks for the link. She looked for so many yummy potato recipes that I've made over the years. They're Halloween potato recipes, people. I know some of you who follow me all the time, you know that skull, those individual skull pies, that's on there because potatoes go great with Halloween. And I've got deviled potato eyes for spooky Halloween. Can you tell I'm getting ready for Halloween? And see, the only reason I switch these out is that your time is valuable. And if I kept cooking, it's just going to take longer from just going from the mixture to this than it did from the burger. So I would recommend going from the burger to this. We tried. Could we do it? Of course we can. We can do anything we want to. But I think that that's more the better way to do it. I'm going to check. We're going to have the second 10-minute of those potatoes. And I can turn off my nemesis, the induction burner. And we've got more than one meal. And these smell so good. So another thing to think about is when you're cooking these, either in the oven or here, so like the cumin and the chili and all of that is getting kind of roasted, as well as the pepitas are a little bit more roasted, and that becomes more aromatic and it's delicious. Fingers crossed that I was able to speed this up a little extra. Yeah, they look a... Yeah, ha! Take that! I'm going to let you see one of these. I didn't even flip them this time. So I didn't flip them because I didn't really need to. So see, they're browned on both sides really well. Because they're hot, they are going to be a little smushier than later. And they're a little hot to hold. I don't recommend that you do what I just did. I kind of have hot hands, right? So I'm used to picking up things really hot. But so I take this arepa that I cut open already. And in the picture, see how it fits perfect? It's like, hello, I'm your lunch. Yes, you are. I wonder if I'm going to get more loopy as it comes to the weekend. Oh my God, you guys. Okay, it's hot. So it doesn't taste just like a potato patty or a bean patty or a bean burger. The pepitas with the potato and the beans give it a good bulk. You get a little bit of crunch from some of those pepitas and those chilies that we've both dried and kind of roasted with the ancho chili powder we made, or from the puree that we made from the guajillo. That's what's really adding this unusual flavor. So when you taste these, if you're not used to identifying those chilies, you're just going to taste this really great umami flavor. And I think you're really going to like it. Let me see. I don't know if it's going to be good for me to, let's see if I can cut it open now. They're going to be a little mushy until they cool down, but ever so. Okay. And you can still kind of see that. Let me put it on the overhead. You guys kind of see that? And you can see all the little bits, little chunks of potato, little chunks of black beans, the pepitas. That's why I don't care if the chili goes all the way, because isn't that just beautiful on the top, the way you see that? It's just a really, really beautiful, beautiful burger, both visually and tummy-wise. So, do you guys have any questions about the recipes? Or the recipe that we're doing now? I will do the arepas another time on a live, and I'll put out the word. If you're wanting to make your own chili powder, you can look at that. It's super simple. If you have any questions about anything we did today, if you go hop in the group, the Facebook group, Vegan Recipes Cooking with Kathy Hester. Almost forgot the name. Isn't that exciting? Just say, Kathy sent me, and I'll let you in, and you can ask me questions there. Also, it's a wonderful, wonderful group of plant-based people who are super supportive and ready to answer your questions, even if I don't get there in time. And also, please be sure to check out the recipe on Idaho Potato's site and look at my other Idaho potato recipes, because they're all pretty amazing. So I can do some stuff with some potatoes. Trust me. And some chilies, even if I can't pronounce them. So let's see. So Daphne says, oh my God, it sounds so tasty just hearing you describe it. I know. Okay, so let me tell you, for real, when I was making this recipe, so these were baking, I ate 3 arepas, and then I ate 2 burgers. So they were so good. And then I ate burgers for like 3 days after that. I took it, this is how good it is. Took the burger out of the fridge, popped it in a cold arepa, and ate it. I didn't even warm it up. I didn't put anything else on it. It's really good with like tomato and avocado, or if you have some sriracha tofu mayo or something like that. You could do any of it, but I find it is so flavorful just on its own that it's worth eating just like this. Yeah, and Joanne says we're great and friendly. She is a prominent member of our group. She's been around a lot, and she's super helpful, and she's a very nice woman from Florida who I appreciate greatly being in our numbers. Oh, Nancy, you're so welcome. Nancy says, thank you, Kathy, for another great and informative lesson. Yay! So let's go make some cheap veggie burgers that taste amazing. They taste better, I think, than anything you can buy out there frozen, and you can make a bunch of them for less than you can buy 1 pack. So let's win the burger game and get ready for Labor Day, which I think is just around the corner. And so, and Amanda, hopefully this makes sense. Do you see how once they've cooked like this, then they've held together, then you could take them camping and they're not going to break apart, and you would be able to put them on the grill and things like that. In their initial smushy state, they are not going to grill well. They're just going to kind of dribble through the grill. So don't try that. Even I wouldn't try that. Or put foil down, but it's going to stick to the foil. So, you know, put a piece of parchment paper on the foil on the grill if you have to, if that's a last ditch effort. But I would prefer that you cook a batch up and then just take some with you. Yeah, Cheryl loves them with avocado. Linda says, thanks for today. I was checking out the Idaho potato site, and there's some great recipes there. There are, and they have other vegan recipes by other bloggers than me too. So be sure to kind of look around. And if you guys find a recipe that isn't vegan and you want me to help you veganize it, just let me know. Again, vegan recipes, Cooking with Kathy Hester. People will answer you. And Marilyn said, I've made some buns in anticipation of landfall for Laura, and I'll make some of these also. Awesome. I think that's a great idea. Marilyn's in Louisiana, so she's kind of preparing for the hurricane. And, oh, good, Amanda, yay. I want a picture of you having these on your camping trip. Just take an iPhone picture. If you did, you'll make me the happiest girl ever, and I would love it. And, aw, and Famous Idaho Potatoes thanks me for being such a famous Idaho's potatoes advocate, but it's kind of like asking me to be an air advocate, right? Potatoes, whole food, plant-based. It's just like breathing. We love them. They fill us up. They're nutritious, and they're not hard on the bank account either, which is just another plus. I love things like this that are delicious and don't cost a fortune. It's so nice to have. So, anyhow, everybody be safe, take care of yourself, and I will be seeing you later. Don't forget, if you have any questions, please let me know. I will be popping back in later and finding a couple of winners, so do pay attention, because if I ask you that, I'll put in my email address for me to send your mailing address to me, and you'll get some potato goodies, okay? Have a wonderful day and rest of your week.